What if I told you that we could take the forgotten beauty of classic Resident Evil 3 backgrounds and bring them to life in ways you've never seen before? What if Capcom's biggest missed opportunity, fully exploring the eerie, decaying streets of Raccoon City, could have been the best remake in survival horror history? Welcome back, everyone, to Unreal Gamer. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Resident Evil 3. But not just any version. The original Nemesis game, where the pre-rendered backgrounds painted a haunting and immersive picture of Raccoon City. We're here to show you how much was lost in the remake and what could have been if Capcom had given us the Raccoon City we deserved. But we're not just here to talk about what went wrong. I'm going to show you how AI tools like Krea.ai can help revive these iconic visuals and add massive amounts of detail. These enhanced images aren't just for nostalgia. They can be used to conceptualize future games, inspiring developers to create rich, immersive environments and helping speed up workflows in game art creation. So stick around, because we're about to reimagine Raccoon City, showcase the power of AI in game art, and make the case for why Resident Evil 3 deserves a second chance. We're about to give Raccoon City the attention it was robbed of, and you won't want to miss it. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you think Resident Evil 3 deserves another chance. Let's dive in. All right, everyone. Today I'm going to walk you through how we can breathe new life into the pre-rendered backgrounds from the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. We'll be using a tool called Krea.ai, which is an upscale AI that enhances these images and adds extra detail, sometimes even details that weren't there originally. While it's not perfect, it does a great job of improving the overall fidelity of these classic images. So, first things first, I've started recording, and I'm in my browser using the Krea.ai app. Let's go ahead and import our first image. I've chosen a background from RE3, this cute little alley from Uptown Boulevard. Let me find it. Ah, there it is. Now, once you import your image, Krea.ai will sometimes auto-generate a description for it. For this image, the AI has described it as, the image depicts a scene from a video game featuring a brick road, a potted plant, a bench, and a sign. Pretty accurate. Next, we choose how much we want to upscale the image. There are different options, 1x, 2x, 4x, and 8x. For this background, we're going with a 4x upscale. The original resolution for these backgrounds was really low, about 380p. After upscaling, we'll get it close to a 4K resolution, which will make a huge difference in clarity. Now, the AI has automatically filled in the prompt for this image, which is super convenient. If it doesn't, you can just click on the pencil icon to generate the prompt yourself. There are also some presets you can choose from. For this one, I'm going to use the digital art preset, which automatically adjusts the strength, resemblance, and clarity settings. For this image, the strength is set to 0.80%, resemblance is at 45%, and clarity is at 0.117. These settings give the best balance for these kinds of backgrounds. Another option here is the color match setting. This helps the AI match the colors of the original image more closely, so I'm going to turn that on. Once everything is set up, all you have to do is hit the Enhance button and let Krea.ai work its magic. It does take a couple of minutes, but the process is pretty straightforward. Just a heads up, Krea.ai is free, but you'll have a daily limit on how many images you can upscale. I hit my limit after about 4 or 5 images yesterday, but luckily, we're back at it today. All right, the results are in, and wow, it added a lot of detail. I'm really happy with how this one turned out, even though the text on the sign is a bit of a mess. It's pretty common for the AI to jumble text, but overall, the added detail is impressive. All right, so now that we're out of Krea.ai, let's jump into Photoshop to polish the image a bit more. Here's the upscaled image we got from Krea, and the first thing I like to do is expand the size and give it a more cinematic filmic aspect ratio. We're going to start by upscaling the image resolution. Head up to the Image menu and select Image Size. Now I want to double the resolution here to make the image crisper. Once that's done, I like to expand the edges to give it a widescreen feel. So grab the crop tool and you'll see the grid appear. From here, you can adjust the aspect ratio by pulling the edges. Let's expand the sides a bit. Maybe add a little to the top and bottom to see how it feels. Now that we've got our new aspect ratio, everything that's pink will be filled in with AI-generated content. Make sure Generative Expand is turned on, and Photoshop will automatically fill the empty areas based on the surrounding details. No need to add a prompt here. Photoshop usually does a pretty good job. And there we go. Photoshop did a surprisingly good job filling in the edges. As always, the AI struggles with text. But overall, the added detail is fantastic. I'm going to stick with this version, even though the text isn't perfect. I can always go back later and correct that manually. Now that I'm happy with the expanded image, I'll go ahead and merge the generated layer with the original. Next up, I want to give this image more atmosphere, so I'm going to show you guys how I use one of my favorite tools, the neural filters. These are fantastic for adding a touch of realism to CGI images, which can sometimes feel a little too perfect. Go up to the Filter menu, and from the drop-down, select Neural Filters. Once that's open, I'm going to turn on Depth Blur. This is a great way to add focus and depth to an image. It works just like a camera, blurring the background while keeping your subject sharp. For this image, I'm going to click on the sign to make that the focal point. You can also adjust the focal range. If you set it all the way to the right, most of the image will stay in focus. And if you set it all the way to the left, only what you clicked will stay sharp, while everything else will blur out. I like the bokeh effect, so I'm keeping most of the image blurry, with just the sign in focus. Next, we'll tweak the blur strength. I'm going for a balanced look here, blurry, but not too much that it looks unnatural. I'll leave it at around 50% and then add a touch of haze to give the image a more atmospheric feel. I'm not going for a full-on Silent Hill vibe, but I do like a bit of misty atmosphere, so I'll leave the haze at around 17%. You can also adjust the color temperature here. I usually lean toward cooler tones, especially for a darker game like Resident Evil. It just adds to that nighttime, eerie feel. Let's bring the tint to around 20 to balance out any green tones. I don't want to oversaturate it, so I'll leave the saturation at 6%, just a little boost. Finally, the last touch is grain. This is a game changer, especially for CGI images that can sometimes look too flawless. By adding grain, you break down the sharpness, giving the image a grittier, more realistic feel. I'll add a bit more than usual so you can see it clearly in the video, but normally I like to keep it around 30 to 40%. It adds that extra layer of realism without going overboard. And that's it. Here's the final image. And I'll show you guys a before and after so you can see the difference. All right, let's dive into some of these iconic pre-rendered backgrounds from the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. These early locations in the game really set the stage for the chaos that's about to unfold, and the artistry here is just incredible. This first image is from Uptown Boulevard, showing a brick road, a potted plant, a bench, and a sign. You might think it's just a simple street scene, but what makes it stand out is how much detail is packed into it. The brickwork looks weathered, the plant is overgrown. Everything is subtly telling you that Raccoon City is falling apart. The artists wanted players to feel like this was a real city being destroyed, and this pre-rendered background nailed that post-apocalyptic vibe. It's all about the details that give the illusion of a world in decay, and that's something we missed in the remake. Now, this next image is a destroyed gas station with wrecked cars and a truck. It's chaos, pure, uncontrolled destruction. What I love here is that the scene feels like it captures a moment just after the outbreak. You can almost imagine the frantic escape attempts, people abandoning their cars as they realized the streets were no longer safe. This gas station is an important location in the game, but in the remake, much of the emotional weight and visual storytelling was lost. Next, we have a scene from a puzzle that was completely removed in the remake. You've got a horse statue on a small stone stage, surrounded by that eerie, foreboding atmosphere the original game excelled at. Removing this puzzle was a massive blow to the experience of exploration and challenge in the remake. It's moments like these that built the atmosphere and pacing, something that the original game balanced perfectly. By cutting these, the remake left us with fewer reasons to explore and appreciate Raccoon City's dark history. Now, this is where things heat up. Jill's first encounter with Nemesis. They're standing in front of the Raccoon Police Department, and this moment was one of the most terrifying parts of the game.
Jill!
Brad!
We've gotta...
Rendered background here added so much tension to the scene. You've got this beautifully eerie backdrop of the RPD, with its grand architecture and haunting emptiness, and then bam! Nemesis crashes into the scene. In the remake, this encounter feels less intense because they traded this carefully crafted visual moment for a more generic look. Here we see Jill in a dimly lit room with two zombies slowly advancing. The shadows and dim lighting add so much to the horror here. There's a door, a chair, a bucket. Mundane items made unsettling by the way the light hits them. This kind of setting made the pre-rendered backgrounds of the original feel so alive, despite their limitations. Even with the 3D technology of the 1990s, they used every trick in the book to make these rooms feel like they were suffocating you with tension. Now, look at this urban destruction in the next image. Cars overturned, debris everywhere, and in the background, a bookstore. These little details, like the bookstore sign, made Raccoon City feel like a place that had been lived in, and now it's crumbling. Each street corner you turned was filled with more destruction, more signs of life interrupted. This kind of visual storytelling was part of the magic of Resident Evil 3. Here we have Carlos in a standoff, with Nemesis lurking in the background, just out of sight. This is classic RE3. Tension is everywhere. Carlos knows Nemesis is close, but Nemesis hasn't spotted him yet. The background gives you a sense of unease, like something could jump out at you at any second. Again, the pre-rendered backgrounds let the artists control every element of the atmosphere, creating this sense of dread that's missing from the remake. And here's the famous RPD gate with RPD displayed prominently. The police department is one of the most iconic locations in the Resident Evil series, and in RE3, the devastation of its surroundings tells its own story. What's interesting is that, according to new lore, the RPD building used to be an art gallery and museum. That explains the elaborate architecture and those puzzle-like statues scattered around the place. It adds a layer of eerie sophistication to the city's downfall, which the remake barely touched on. Lastly, here's Jill on the street next to a car with a pizza box on the ground, and buildings in the background advertising coffee and pizza. These tiny details, like the pizza box, remind you that Raccoon City was just a normal place before everything went to hell. People ordered pizza, grabbed coffee, and lived their everyday lives. It's details like this that humanize the city, making it feel like you were really walking through a place with a history and a future, until the outbreak happened. And again, the remake glossed over so much of this, leaving the city feeling hollow in comparison to the rich world the original pre-rendered backgrounds gave us. And this is why the remake feels so hollow. These pre-rendered backgrounds didn't just serve as backdrops. They were part of the story. They gave us a Raccoon City that felt alive, even as it was being destroyed. The artists cared about the details, and each location felt like a piece of a larger, crumbling world. In the remake, they cut so much of this. The exploration was gone. The puzzles were removed, and the sense of immersion just didn't compare. Capcom had one chance to give us the Raccoon City we've been waiting for in high fidelity. Now, as we look at these original pre-rendered backgrounds from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, just take a moment to appreciate the details. These backgrounds were rich, filled with character. You could walk down alleys, explore shops, restaurants. There was so much of Raccoon City that you could actually experience. The city itself felt alive, dangerous, and it was something that fans loved. The sad thing is, we've never really had the chance to explore Raccoon City in its full glory with modern graphics. I mean, think about it. The last time we got to truly wander around the city was in the original RE3. Sure, Resident Evil 2 gave us a taste, but it was mainly centered around the police station. You got a few moments outside, but we never had the chance to really get lost in the city streets, to explore all those little nooks and crannies. Capcom had the perfect opportunity with the RE3 remake. I mean, it's been, over 20 years since the original came out? We've all been waiting for that moment where we could finally explore Raccoon City in high-fidelity graphics, to walk those same streets, but with modern immersion. This was their shot, and they blew it. Look at what the Silent Hill 2 remake did. They gave fans what they wanted. They expanded on the exploration. Players could walk into doors, explore more of the hospital, the town, everything. They understood that for survival horror fans, the exploration and item hunting is a key part of the experience. It's not just about the scares, it's about getting immersed in the world, in the atmosphere. That's what we wanted from Resident Evil 3, but Capcom took that away. This was their chance to give us Raccoon City, as it was meant to be, fully explorable. And it's not like they couldn't do it. I mean, this is the same company that made Dead Rising.
Remember that name, because the whole world's gonna know it in 3 days.
Where the whole point was to explore a huge mall filled with zombies. It had so many shops, items to collect, and secrets to uncover. They clearly have the talent to create detailed, explorable environments. So why couldn't they do it for Resident Evil 3? We weren't asking for a mall simulator. We were asking for a chance to truly explore a charming yet terrifying 90s town overtaken by zombies. But instead, we got a game that felt hollow, like a missed opportunity to revisit the place where it all started. One of the biggest disappointments with the Resident Evil 3 remake was how many iconic locations were completely cut. Take the clock tower, for example, a major area in the original game that was just erased from the remake. And it wasn't just the big locations. Smaller but significant areas like the shops in the Uptown area were also missing. In the original, Jill could walk into a clothing store and change her costumes, or visit a restaurant that was replaced by the donut shop in the remake. The city used to feel rich with places to explore. There were parks, alleyways filled with puzzles, and all sorts of hidden paths that made the city feel alive. In contrast, the remake reduced all of this to a linear, one-corridor experience, stripping Raccoon City of its character and depth. And there it is, folks. Capcom had a golden opportunity to deliver what Resident Evil fans have been dreaming of for decades. A fully explorable, high-fidelity Raccoon City, with all its eerie charm and intricate details preserved and expanded. They could have given us a world we'd want to get lost in. A world rich with atmosphere and uncharted but familiar territories. Instead, we got a remake that felt rushed, hollow, and stripped of the exploration and depth that made the original so iconic. Other games, like the Silent Hill 2 remake, understood this. They expanded their world, gave their fans more to discover, and respected the spirit of the original. They embraced what made their games special, enhancing the experience with modern technology while staying true to the heart of the game. That's what Resident Evil 3 deserved. A chance to not just recreate, but to elevate the Raccoon City experience. This is why we're calling on Capcom to give us a second chance. A remake of the remake, a director's cut, if you will. Something that gives Raccoon City the proper care, attention to detail, and exploration that it deserves. A city like Raccoon, with all its history and horror, deserves to be brought back to life with the respect it's earned over the years. And let's not forget the future. AI tools like the ones we've shown in this video are becoming more powerful every day. With AI, game developers now have the opportunity to build bigger, more detailed worlds faster than ever before. Tools like Krea.ai are just scratching the surface of what's possible. Imagine the kind of expansive, immersive environments that could be crafted with this kind of technology, helping to speed up development while adding rich detail. The potential is there, and it's exciting to think that AI could help make games like Resident Evil 3 remakes even better. So, Capcom, if you're listening, it's time to give the fans what they deserve. Bring back Raccoon City in all its glory, and let us explore every alleyway, every shop, and every dark corner that was left behind. To everyone watching on the Unreal Gamer channel, thanks so much for sticking with us. If you feel the same way about Resident Evil 3 and want to see Raccoon City brought back the way it should have been, let us know in the comments. Do you agree Capcom missed their shot? And how do you feel about AI in game development? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the gaming world. We've got a lot more to explore together.